Hello! In today's video, I'm going to be doing an in-depth review of the Mob Beauty Cream Clay eyeshadows. I'm going to put timestamps down below, but I'm going to be doing swatches, I'm going to be talking about the formula, and then I'm going to be doing some eye applications so that you can see how these perform on the eyes and how I like to use these. So yeah, let's get started. So here we have the swatches. I'm going to put the shades in the description in case you can't see them. Here in the first group we kind of have like the more neutral shades, and I think you can see how beautifully opaque and smooth they are. And then here on the second group we have the more colorful pastel shades. I really like seeing them together like this. You can pause the screen and see on the sides what is the shade. Let's first talk about the formula. I would say that these are a true cream formula, which means that they don't dry down. And that comes with some pros and some cons, especially if you, like me, have oily and or hooded eyelids. The pros is that you get a creative freedom. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You can blend them together. You can start your day with like a green eyeshadow. Then in the middle of the day, you can go on and put some blue on top. You can always, they're very malleable. You can always change them, adjust them, and you have an endless time to blend them because, as I said, they never dry down. However, because of that, they also tend to crease and fade. Overall, I would say that they are all quite creamy and pigmented. Some are a little bit more pigmented than others, but they all have a very creamy, high quality feel to them. They don't feel like your usual cream formula. I feel like there is some sort of a technology in here because they do feel like, I feel like cream clay is the perfect name for them because they have some they have a clay like quality to them while still being a cream. So I do feel like there's something about them that makes them different from other cream eyeshadows. Personally, I just find them very pleasant. How can I say that? I like using them. I feel very refined when I use them. They just have a very pleasant quality to them. I don't know. I just, I've had these for months now. I took forever making this video pretty much because I didn't have the patience to edit it. And in all these months I've had these, there's not a single week that goes by that I don't wear these. Even though I'm a sparkly eyeshadow lover, I find it very pleasant to wear these, to work with them, to apply them. So yeah, there's something that is, I would say, high quality and refined about the formula. However, the formula can be inconsistent, and I'm gonna get into that now. The light and the medium shades are easier to work with on my skin tone. Of course, I'm talking about my own experience. I have found that the deeper shades, they can get patchy on me, while the light and the medium shades are pretty easy to work with. I can put them on and blend them in 2-3 minutes. Very easy to work with. I have noticed that some shades, they are more emollient than others, and the ones that are more emollient, they tend to be a little bit more sheer, and they also tend to crease and fade more than the ones that are less emollient. I can kind of see some shades have a bit more condensation on top of them, while others don't have that. So I don't know if this has to do with the actual formulation, some shades get more of the oil than the others, or if it has to do with age, if the shade was freshly made, it's more emollient, and as it gets older it gets drier. I'm not sure. I have not noticed any difference in the shades from when I got them to now. It's been a few months since I've had mine, but there is this slight variation in the shades that some are just more emollient than others. Now let's talk about the creasing. There's lots of things that will contribute to the creasing. If you have oily eyelids, hooded eyelids, if you live in a hot and humid climate, you are going to get more creasing. I have also noticed that whatever you put underneath will affect also how the eyeshadow wears. So let's say if you put an oily sunscreen, it is going to crease more than if you put a matte sunscreen. The amount of layers, not only of the eyeshadow, so if you have 2 layers of the eyeshadow, it is going to be more likely to crease than if you just have 1 layer of the eyeshadow. But also the amount of layers of other stuff that you have underneath. So like, let's say like if you have an eye cream, a moisturizer, a sunscreen, an eye primer, like all those things will make it crease, make it more likely to crease than if you just have something very dry and simple underneath. And then of course the inconsistency between the shades themselves will also contribute to creasing, as some shades are going to crease more than others no matter what you do. And this is how you can set them. There's kind of 4 different ways that you can do it. My preferred method is to put translucent powder underneath, because I find that to not affect so much the finish of the eyeshadow. You can also put the translucent powder on top, but I do find that takes the shine away from them. So I don't love that method, although I feel like for some shades that can help. There's also the sandwich translucent powder, so you can put powder underneath and powder on top, and that's kind of what I do for the shades that I feel like crease more than others. Otherwise I just put the powder underneath, and you can also put a powder shimmer on top, but then of course that will change the effect, right? Because instead of having a wash of color, like a matte wash of color, you're gonna have a shimmer, and that's gonna change the look. But putting shimmers on top, if it's like a dry shimmer, not like an emollient creamy shimmer, that will also help with setting them. Okay, now we're gonna get into the eye application. As I mentioned before, the darker shades that I have are very hit or miss for me, so I'm not gonna be using them because I honestly am a little bit afraid of them. The 3 shades that I have that are the dark shades is M110, M106, and M143. I have seen people use them. I have seen these look great on people, but for me personally, I have been struggling with these. Sometimes they look good, sometimes they look patchy. What I've noticed in general is that I can get them to look super opaque, like I can do like a 1 layer, 2 layers, and they look super opaque, but then I just cannot blend them out. Like if I try to blend them out, then it becomes super patchy. And because I feel like 2 layers with these can be like a little heavy, then they also crease more. So I have gotten M110 to work for me once. I did like a very, very sheer wash of color, and I thought it looked beautiful, but it's a little bit hit or miss. So personally, I think that if you have a light skin tone and you're not like a super skilled person like me, like, you know, I do my makeup for myself, I'm not a makeup artist, I think that you could have a hard time with them, but you could also get these to work for you. You know, if you're I think that if you're a makeup artist, or if you're more skilled than me, these can work for you. It's just that I'm a simple person, okay? So all the other shades that I have, so pretty much all of these, can I show you? Okay, all of these and all of these apart from those bottom 3 shades, apart from these 3 shades here, all of these work for me in the way that I'm about to show you. So first thing is that I have some sunscreen underneath, and I just put an eye primer that I can see it's already creasing. I honestly haven't figured out if eye primer is better or not. I do think that if you have an eye primer that adds longevity to your shadows, it's better to use it than to not use it. But I found that if I have a like super oily sunscreen underneath, then these are gonna crease more. So whatever you put underneath will affect it. I think that it's a matter of like trial and error to try to figure out what you have, what works and what does not work underneath these. So I'm gonna put a little bit of translucent setting powder, which is what I've been doing, and I like that. So I've got about this. Can you focus? I think you can see, it's not a lot. I just kind of want to coat my brush, and I want to use it enough so that my eyelids don't feel like super tacky. I do feel that the less stuff you have underneath, the least likely these are to crease. And I also find that the thinner the layer of the shadow, also the better. But sometimes you have to put a little bit more just to get that full-on opacity. So I think I'm gonna go with this green shade here. What is it? M142. It's the one of the Jessica Hayes collaboration shades. This green shade here. There we go, this one. I'm just gonna wash my hands, make sure that I'm not touching these with a dirty finger. So I got about this much on my finger, and I'm gonna work on it. I am gonna get a mirror to see what I am doing because I don't want this to be a disaster because I couldn't see what I was doing. That's it. Okay, I got the blue on my finger. This is shade M141. So this one I think I got more because I still have a lot left on my finger. So I'm just gonna use a clean finger to like tap the edges. So this is how it's looking after I'm done with my makeup. I am gonna tap this out and then I'm gonna come back and show you in like 4 hours, 5 hours how it looks. Okay, so it's been about like 5 hours and I think you can see the green shade did not hold up well at all. But I have used the shade before and it has behaved better than this. And I think it's because I had some foundation on my eye because I was trying to even out the tone because I had some staining left over. So I think that's probably why this shade did not hold up very well. While the blue one is still going strong. Again, I'm just gonna tap out. Please ignore my nose bridges because I wear glasses and that's where they sit. Okay, so we're back. It's another day. Please ignore my base makeup. I am on the snake face of the tretinoin, so my skin is like flaking. So yeah, please don't pay too much attention to that. I already have primer and powder on. I feel like I put a bit more powder today than I put yesterday. It just feels a bit more matte, so maybe that's gonna help. And what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna use that same green shade I used yesterday, but I'm gonna do the sandwich method, which means that I'm gonna put the green shade and then I'm gonna put powder on top of that so that we can see if it fades and creases a little bit less. Because I thought that one faded more than the other shades I had used. And then on the other eye, I'm gonna put a shade that when I used it, barely creased on me. So hopefully the same thing happens so that you can see how there's like these slight differences between how the shades, you know, wear throughout the day. So let's get started. So just like yesterday, I'm going with shade M142 on this eye. I already got it where I should not have gotten it. Ugh. Okay, and just like yesterday, it is blending like a dream. I'm literally just looking at like the monitor I have, which I can't see very well because, you know, I wear glasses. But yeah, man, my skin looks so bad. Especially like around my nose. Even here, I think you can see, right? Tretinoin. Okay, and then I'm gonna go with this shade here called M103. So this is M103. This shade, when I wore it, it barely creased on me. So let's hope. Okay, I think that for this one, I am gonna need a mirror to make sure it's like everywhere I want it to be. Okay, let me just take a closer look at this one and I'm gonna finish blending. And I just blend these all with my finger. I'm not using any brushes. Okay, now I am going to powder this eye before I do my mascara. I'm just gonna powder that like I mentioned. Just tapping out any creases. I have kind of like coated this brush in translucent powder. Hopefully you can see what I mean. When I put powder on top, you see how it removes the shine of the eyeshadow. which is something that I really like. I really like this like kind of glossy sheen. It's not super shiny, but I like that. So when you powder it, it will take that away. But hopefully in the case of this one, it's gonna make it last a bit better. Okay, so it's been around 5 hours and this is how it's looking. This one's still faded. I feel like it creased a bit less, but it's still faded. And this one also creased, but I think a lot less than the other shade. So yeah, I hope this gives you an idea of how these wear on my very hooded, oily eyelids. I do think the powder helped this one, but this one is it's a bit more of a delicate shade, I would say, than the other ones. It just tends to fade a bit more. Yeah, that's it. So this is gonna be my final wear test and demonstration. I'm gonna use that dark red, which is M110, which I mentioned before. They can be very hit or miss for me. Sometimes I get it to look good, sometimes I kind of just have to remove it and try again. And this time I'm gonna try without powdering my eyelids. Maybe without the powder it could go better. For me, I find that I get the best results with these darker shades when I do a very thin layer of them, because I can get them to be more opaque, but then I feel like I have to do 2 layers and then I have a hard time blending them out because they kind of like slip and slide. So I'm gonna try to do what I've done before with this red shade, but as I mentioned, it's kind of very hit or miss, so this could go very wrong. Not sure, but let's try. So I got about this much on my finger. And oh, I need to get a mirror because I need to see what I'm doing. Okay. And I'm just going to tap. Okay, and I'm just going to tap where I want it to be. This one, I would say, feels a tiny bit stiffer than the other shades I've tried. Especially when I put it on my eyes. So I know that right now I kind of have it where I want it to be, but I definitely need to blend the edges. The thing is that, based on my experience, if I get a brush, this doesn't work. Yeah. I think you can see what happens. It kind of like I didn't know I had like dry patches on my eyelid, but it kind of looks like I do. You see like the way it's gathering on certain parts. I am gonna try to blend it with my other finger, which is kind of how I've been doing it. I go in with the clean finger on the edges and I try to blend it. Okay, so here's what I did. I blended it out with my clean finger and then I kind of rubbed it on my eyelid to get it to be more sheer and less pigmented. But I think you can see, like, I put moisturizer on my eyelids every day and it looks like it's clinging on to like certain stuff. Okay, so this is how it's looking like. I don't think this looks good. I think that it looks quite patchy. You can see like every single dryness on my eyelid that I didn't even know I had. I thought my eyelids were hydrated. As I said, I put eye cream and I put like moisturizer every day on my eyelids. So I didn't even know my eyelids looked like this. On my mirror, it doesn't look that bad. Like, I think because the brightness is turned down, you can really see. Like if I turn it up, it doesn't look... But you can still like, it's still like, I think it's, I mean, it is because I did a very sheer layer of it. Now, I guess I could show you that I can get this to look opaque with more product, but that's when I really have a hard time blending it. Maybe I can, I'm not going anywhere today, so I might as well just try to show you how I can build this up. I am really gonna try my best to get this to look good, because I would love to find a way for this to be, like, I would love to find a way to wear these that isn't hit or miss. You know, I've gotten this super sheer application to work for me before, but I've also gotten this issue.
Ooh, nice. What's right there?
Corner here. Like, the blending, you can blame it all on me, but it's the patchiness there. I am gonna go in with this brush just to try to fix this. Okay. I'm very lightly touching the edges. I think it looks a little bit better. It looks maybe a little bit less noticeable. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other eye. Like, the blending doesn't look this bad for me in real life. I think it's, maybe if I can show you with like normal lighting. I don't think that my eyelids look as dry as before because the pigmentation is like more opaque and more even now. But I also have a lot more product on, so I would say if you have a light skin tone and you're not a makeup artist, or you don't have, you're like me, like you don't have, you know, the best makeup skills, you want something simple, you don't want to spend too much time applying something, I don't think these darker shades are gonna work if you have a similar skin tone to me. I do think that if you have a deeper skin tone, I think it could work better because the contrast would be less. So I think that these things could be more noticeable. And maybe this could even happen to you with the lighter shades. I don't know, I can only speak for myself and my experience. But yeah, the darker shades for me are like this. I can kind of get them to look good, but not as good as I would want them to look like, and definitely not as good and as easy as the other shades for me are. Like, for all the other lighter shades, light medium shades, they are very practical shades for me. I can just put them on, leave the house 5 minutes. This requires a lot of time applying, blending, applying more, blending, trying to fix this, trying to fix that. Like, it just feels very finicky to me, these darker shades, as a person who is not a makeup artist. So this is what I have to say about these.